Well, I met Thomas through a trip that one of the original Team Ritchey guys took to the World Championships in Switzerland in '89. And he saw this cool kid win the Junior Worlds cyclocross and talked to him and chatted it up and asked him, have you ever thought about coming to the United States and racing? And he already knew about the sport enough to know that Ritchey was in the top tier of the sport, having just won the World Championships in '89 at Mammoth. I could see the opportunity to take my small budget and give it to a new rider, a new kid on the block. That was the beginning of meeting Thomas, long and short of it, and a phone call and an offer, and which amounted to come and race for Team Ritchey, and I'll pay all your expenses and give you the keys to my car and a bike, and that's all it took for Thomas to say yes. Well, Thomas had a very forthright and honest attitude about everything from the very beginning. I love that about being able to talk with him. I just felt like I was talking with somebody that I could trust, somebody that was going to be earnest, somebody that really rides his heart out and races his heart out and works as hard as anybody that I've ever met. But at the same time, he also had a very fun personality in terms of not taking everything so seriously. He loved being in the shop, he loved being a part of the team. I just saw him gel, connect, be really just super into riding for fun. And that was kind of where things flowed out of. He enjoyed exploring, adventure, and it just so happened to be that was what I was into at the time. It was all about let's have fun, let's go on a hard bike ride. All that stuff ended up being a part of the training process and the enjoyment of getting to know each other and making a special team out of things.
It was actually my request to Tom Ritchey to build me a cyclocross frame. At that time, I was racing in the top league, the Super Prestige, and being on Team Ritchey, at that time I raced mountain bikes on Team Ritchey, but I was in a cyclocross team that was called Mondia, a Swiss bike manufacturer. And once I wanted to go full time with Ritchey, I first had to ask Tom to build me actually some frames, and that's what he did, and came out very well from the beginning, and that was the birth of the Swiss Cross.
In the beginning, I would say I pretty much made all the technical decisions, design decisions. And as time went on, especially with the cross bike, Thomas was very instrumental in what he wanted and how he wanted it built. And I built it based on significantly his, geometry and clearances and things like that.
Well, see, you don't have to teach a guy like Tom Ritchey how to build a cyclocross bike. Even it was his first try on a cyclocross bike. Geometry-wise, it leaned on those bikes that we were racing at that time, and there was not anything drastically changing. We made sure we get enough tire clearance to actually be able to also mount some larger tires, because back then cyclocross tubulars were like 28 millimeter wide, but we were just about at the trend to go wider with tubulars, and therefore we want to make sure we get enough clearance with the fork and the rear end. And other than that, it's kind of like basically all the know-how from the Road Logic and from the P22 that went into the Swiss Cross.
Our relationship was close enough and friendly enough, and all the things about good relationships that work, that it just made sense to call it the Swiss Cross at that time. Then as time went on, of course, Thomas just became more and more confident of what he needed and what he wanted. So 20 years into the relationship, he was asking for things that were very important that he knew he needed to win.
It's certainly an original bike. I would say it came right at the time where there was not that much available. A certain shift from mountain biking to cyclocross was just happened at that time when the Swiss Cross was born, and it was that bike that was available, US made, handcrafted by Tom Ritchey, and the name that kept in the people's head. So it's got a bit of an original touch to it, not only because it was and still is a great bike, but because it was there at the right time.
I would say that in a building block sense, everything is the same except for the new addition of disc brakes and a carbon fork that the first bikes didn't have. But geometry-wise, tubing-wise, design element-wise, execution, it's very, very similar. You know, it probably rides almost identical to the way the first bikes rode.